Phalos Prime was a bright and strange world. The sky had two suns, and the land stretched with glowing plants and smooth blue rocks. Humans had only just started to visit this planet. They came to help the Avathi, the native people, rebuild after a long and hard war. One of the humans was a young man named Kyle Mason. He was a smart and kind engineer. He came with a team to fix broken machines and help build homes. He liked to work with his hands and wanted to make things better, but not. Everyone liked that the humans were there. One Avathi woman, Liari, watched Kyle with cold eyes. She did not speak to him unless she had to. She did not smile or thank him for his help. Liari hated humans. Her people had lost many during the war, and she blamed humans for it. Liari had two younger sisters, Nira and Vela. They were twins, playful and full of questions. They followed Kyle around sometimes, watching him fix things. He didn't mind. He always smiled and explained what he was doing. He used simple words and showed them how some of the tools worked. The twins giggled and ran off, whispering and laughing. One afternoon, Kyle was working near the water pumps by the village. It was hot, and sweat dripped from his forehead. He took off his shirt and dipped the cloth in the water to cool down. The area was quiet. He thought he was a lone dot, not far away. Nira and Vela were picking berries. They were curious about what Kyle was doing. They walked over, calling his name. But before he could respond, they turned the corner and saw him changing his clothes. 4. A moment, everything stopped. The twins froze. Their big violet eyes went wide. Kyle looked up and was just as surprised. He quickly grabbed his shirt and tried to cover himself. "Sorry," he said, his face turning red. The twins didn't say anything. They turned and ran back, yelling and laughing. "We saw him! We saw the human!" Later that evening, Liari heard the story from her sisters. She was not amused. She scolded them for being rude. But they kept talking about what they had seen. They spoke about how strange and different the human body was. Liari told them to be quiet, but the thought stayed in her mind. She found herself thinking about Kyle. She didn't want to, but she remembered the way he helped others without asking for anything. He worked hard and treated her people with respect. Still, she told herself it meant nothing. Humans could not be trusted. The next day, Kyle continued his work. He acted like nothing had happened. He still smiled at the twins and helped fix the water system near their home. Liari stayed at a distance, arms crossed, watching. She wanted to stay angry, but something inside her started to shift. Kyle was not like the soldier she remembered. He did not carry weapons. He brought tools, books, and ideas. He listened when people spoke. He laughed with the children. He shared food with the elders. He built things and fixed what was broken. Liari saw it all. And even though she told herself she still hated humans, she felt something different growing in her heart. She didn't know what it was yet, but she knew it was connected to the young human who looked at her with gentle eyes and never once raised his voice. Night came, and the twin moons rose in the sky. The village was quiet. Liari stood by the edge of the garden, watching the stars. Behind her, Kyle worked on a small light device, fixing it so it would shine brighter. He saw her standing there and thought about speaking, but he stayed silent. He didn't know that Liari, who once hated all humans, was starting to see him differently, and she didn't know that the next days would bring them closer than she ever imagined. The next morning was busy in the village. The Avathi elders had called for a joint project with the humans. They wanted to build a stronger power line that would help bring light and energy to the lower fields. It was a big task, and both humans and Avathi had to work together. Kyle arrived early with his tools. He carried wires, small machines, and a plan drawn on a tablet. He looked around and saw Avathi workers gathering, some curious, others unsure. Then he saw her Liari. She stood, with her arms crossed, her eyes sharp. To Kyle's surprise, she walked over to him. "I was told to assist," she said. Her voice was cool, but not cold. Kyle nodded. "Good to have your help," he said simply. They began working side by side. At first, they didn't speak much. Kyle showed her how to use the tools, and Liari followed his lead. She didn't ask questions, but she watched carefully. She was fast to learn. As the sun climbed higher, the two of them worked to connect wires along the wooden posts. Kyle climbed the ladders, and Liari handed him the tools. Sometimes their hands touched. Neither of them said anything, but something quiet passed between them. During a break, Kyle sat under a tree, drinking water. Liari sat nearby. They stayed silent for a while. Then Kyle spoke. "I know you don't trust us," he said. "And I understand, but I didn't come here to hurt anyone. I came to help." Liari looked at him. "Humans helped bring the war," she said. "I lost people. My father, friends." Kyle nodded slowly. "I lost people too. My sister. She was a nurse in the field. She died helping Avathi children." Liari was quiet. She looked down at the grass. For the first time, she saw pain in Kyle's eyes, not pride or defense, just quiet pain. "I'm sorry," she said. The words came slowly, like she hadn't said them in years. "Me too," Kyle said. That small moment changed something. After that, their work became smoother. They talked more about tools, about the stars, about what their homes were like. Kyle told her about his small town on Earth, with tall trees and snow in winter. Liari spoke of the warm lakes and glowing trees of her childhood. By evening, the first power line was ready. Kyle tested it, and the lights on the field came alive. A soft glow spread through the area. The Avathi nearby clapped. Even some humans smiled and cheered. Kyle looked at Liari. She didn't clap, but she nodded. "It works. You did well." "We did well," Kyle replied. That night, the village celebrated. There was food, music, and dancing. The Avathi shared glowing fruits and soft drinks made from local roots. Kyle sat with the twins, Nira and Vela, who told stories and laughed. Liari stood at a distance, watching them. When Kyle looked at her, she turned away quickly. But her face was softer now, less guarded. As the night got cooler, a sudden power flicker hit the village. Lights blinked, and people gasped. One of the energy towers was unstable. Kyle stood up. "I'll check the tower," he said. "It might be the new connection." Liari stepped forward. "I'll come too. You may need help." Together, they walked into the dark path. They reached the tower near the garden fields. Kyle opened the panel, checking the wires. Liari held a light for him. Then, without warning, a noise came from the trees. A large branch broke off and fell. Kyle pushed Liari aside, taking the hit on his shoulder. He groaned and fell. Liari dropped the light and rushed to him. "Kyle!" she cried. She helped him sit up. Blood ran down his arm. "You okay?" he asked, his voice tight. "I'm not the one bleeding," she said. Her voice shook. He smiled weakly. "Still worth it." Liari tore part of her cloak and pressed it against his wound. "Why would you do that?" "Because I care," he said. "About you. About this place." She stared at him. The man she once hated had just protected her without thinking. She didn't know what to say. "Let's get you back," she said. Walk slowly, her arm around his back. The stars were bright above, and the village lights welcomed them home. Something had changed forever in Liari's heart. She no longer saw Kyle as just a human. She saw him as someone brave, kind, and real. She didn't know what would happen next, but she no longer felt hate. She felt something new, something warmer. The next day, the village woke to the news of Kyle's injury. Many Evanti came to check on him, surprised that he had risked himself to protect one of their own. Some whispered that maybe not all humans were bad. Others stayed quiet but watched. More closely now, Kyle rested in a small healing room made for visitors. His shoulder was wrapped in clean cloth, and pain medicine helped him sleep. Liari stayed nearby, sitting outside the room under a tall red-leaf tree. She didn't know why she waited, but her heart told her it felt right. Nira and Vila came to sit beside her. The twins were quieter than usual. He was brave, Nira said. He could have died, Vela added. Liari nodded. I know. They sat in silence for a while. Then Vela smiled. Do you like him? Liari turned sharply. What? No, he's a human. But a kind one, Nira said with a grin. He helped us. He helped you. Liari didn't answer. She looked at the door, where Kyle slept inside. The twins giggled and ran off. By the afternoon, Kyle woke up. He moved slowly, but he smiled when he saw Liari come in with a bowl of fruit. You're awake, she said. Good. Thanks for staying, Kyle said. And for this. He pointed at the bowl. It's just food, she replied. But her voice was softer than before. They talked a little while he ate. Kyle told her about the repair he had finished before the branch fell. Liari told him how the lights had stayed on all night because of it. You've done a lot for us, she sighed. I just want to help, he replied. Days passed, and Kyle slowly got better. Liari helped him walk, brought him food, and stayed to talk. They shared stories, small ones about life, family, and the stars. Liari laughed more now, and Kyle noticed. One day, while Kyle sat in the garden, Liari came to him with a small device. I made this, she said. It's a signal light for the fields. I used parts you showed me. Kyle took it and smiled. This is great. You did really well. Liari looked proud. I want to help too. Like you. From that day, they started working together on more repairs. Villagers began to join them. Humans and Avafi worked side by side. Children ran around playing with simple tools Kyle had made into toys. Laughter filled the air. One evening, Liari invited Kyle to the lakeside. It was a quiet place with glowing water and soft grass. They sat together, watching the light dance on the waves. Do you ever miss Earth? Liari asked. Sometimes, Kyle said. But this place, it feels like home now. Liari turned to look at him. Even with people like me, who once hated. You? Kyle smiled gently. You never hated me. Not really. You were just hurt. I understand that. Liari looked away. Her voice was low. I was wrong about you. You didn't say anything. You just reached out and gently touched her hand. She didn't pull away as the stars came out. They sat in silence. The wind was soft. The moment was peaceful. Back in the village. Nira and Vela peeked from behind a tree. They giggled quietly. They like each other, Nira whispered. We should plan something, Vela said. The next day, the twins convinced the elders to host another gathering. They called it a unity night. There would be music, stories, and food. They said it was to celebrate peace and the power lines, but really, it was for something more. Liari didn't know the real reason. She helped prepare fruits and lights. Kyle helped set up the speakers for music. When night came, the village was glowing. Fires burned safely in small pits. People danced. Children ran around. The twins performed a silly play about a human Anne, a Ivathi, who became friends. Everyone laughed. Then Nira and Vela pulled Liari and Kyle into the circle. Dance! They shouted. Liari started to say no, but Kyle held out his hand. Just one? She hesitated, then nodded. They moved slowly. With the music. It was awkward at first, but then it felt natural. You're not a bad dancer, she said with a small smile. You're just easy to dance with, Kyle replied. They laughed. Around them, others danced too. Human and Avathi, together. It was something that once seemed impossible. Liari looked at Kyle. She didn't see a human anymore. She saw someone she trusted. Someone who listened, helped, and cared. Her heart beat a little faster. Maybe, just maybe, this was more than peace. Maybe. It was the beginning of something deeper. The sun rose over Thalos Prime, warm and gentle. Kyle and Liari had become close. They still worked on village repairs, but now they also shared small smiles, long talks, and quiet walks. The villagers noticed the change. Some were surprised. Some were happy. Others still didn't understand. One morning, a group of elders asked Kyle and Liari to lead a new project. They wanted to build a water station that could clean lake water for the whole village. It would need human tech and Ivati design. It would need trust. Kyle looked at Liari. She nodded. We can do it. They worked every day. Kyle built the filters and pumps. Liari shaped the stone paths and gathered her people. They taught each other and laughed while they worked. Nira and Vela brought food and jokes. One day, while digging near the edge of the lake, Kyle found something strange. A long metal pipe stuck out of the ground. It didn't belong there. Liari, he called. She came over looking worried. This is old tech. Human-made, from before the peace. They cleared the area and found a hidden chamber. Inside were weapons old and rusted, left behind during the war. Liari stared at them. Her hand shook. I lost my father to these, she whispered. He died in a fire started by these machines. Kyle placed a hand on her shoulder. We'll destroy them. Together. They reported the find to the elders. Some were angry, some afraid. But Kyle and Liari stood strong. These are old, Kyle said. They do not belong to us now. We are building something new. The elders agreed to let the weapons be taken apart and the metal reused. It was hard, but it showed the village that change was real. That evening, Kyle and Liari sat by the lake. I hated humans, she said. I hated everything about them. I know, Kyle said softly, but now, when I look at you, I don't. See the war. I see hope. Kyle took her hand. That's all I ever wanted to bring. They sat together in silence. The lake glowed in the moonlight. The stars above shimmered. A sudden sound broke the quiet. A message came through Kyle's. Comes device. He opened it. What is it? Liari asked. He read it with a frown. A ship is coming. A human ship. Military class. They're here to inspect the area. Something about safety checks. Laurie's face grew tense. More soldiers? Kyle nodded. They say it's only for a day. The next day, the ship landed outside the village. Soldiers came out wearing armor and carrying gear. The villagers watched from a distance. Kyle greeted the captain, a stern woman named Harper. This is a peaceful village, he said. Please be respectful. Harper nodded, but her eyes scanned the Avathi with suspicion. They checked the area, including the old weapon site. Harper asked questions. She frowned at the mixed teams working together. Liari stayed close to Kyle. She didn't like the way. The soldiers looked at her people. She didn't like the way they talked. That night, the soldiers stayed near their ship. The village was quiet. People stayed inside. Even the twins didn't play. Kyle met Liari near the garden. I don't like this, he said. Neither do I, she replied. Suddenly they heard a noise. Running feet. Nearer came crying. They searched our home, she said. They broke things. They said they were checking for weapons. Kyle's face went hard. He went to the captain. Your team scared children. You had no right. We had orders, Harper said. We must be sure. This is not your war zone, Kyle said. This is their home. Harper looked at him. You care for them too much, Mason. Yes, he said. I do. The next morning, the ship left. No one waved goodbye. The village gathered. Kyle stood before them. I am sorry, he said. They don't speak for all of us. Liari stepped beside him. This man is not like them. He stood for us. He worked with us. He belongs here. The crowd nodded. A few clapped. Some smiled. That night, the village was alive again. Music played. Children laughed. The lights of the water station shone bright. Kyle and Liari stood at the edge of the field, watching the lights. You belong here, she said. I feel like I do, Kyle replied. They looked at each other. The anger was gone. The fear had faded. What was left was something strong, something real. They didn't say the word, but they both felt it without love. The days passed quietly after the soldiers left. The village returned to normal. People worked, laughed, and shared meals again. But something had changed deep inside many of them. They now saw Kyle as one of their own. Kyle and Liari spent more time together. They repaired small machines, planted new crops, and even visited nearby villages to help others. Liari smiled more now. Her voice was softer, her steps lighter. One afternoon, Kyle and Liari walked by the lake. The wind was calm, and the water shimmered. Kyle stopped and looked out across the water. I used to dream of going home, he said. Now I don't know where home is. Liari looked at him. Maybe home isn't a place. Maybe it's a feeling. He turned to her, and I feel it when I'm with you. She didn't speak, but her hand reached for his. They stood together, not needing more words. Back in the village, Nira and Vela were up to something. They whispered and ran between homes, talking to villagers and giggling. They were planning a surprise. That night, just before the sun set, the twins came to Kyle and Liari. Come with us, they said. They followed the girls to the center of the village. Lights hung from trees, tables were full of food. Music played gently in the air. What is this? Liari asked. A celebration, Nira said. For the water station, for peace, for love. Kyle laughed. Did you plan all this? Villa nodded proudly. Yes, and everyone helped. People gathered. Humans and Avati sat side by side. The twins performed a funny story, pretending to be Kyle and Liari meeting for the first time. The villagers laughed and clapped. Then an elder stood up. She was old, with silver skin and deep eyes. In our history, she said, we feared those who were different, but now we learn. We grow. This human Kyle showed us another way. He brought light, not war. He brought healing, not pain. She looked at Liari. And you, child of Thalos, you opened your heart. That is not weakness. That is strength. The elder stepped forward and placed her hands on both of them. Let this night be remembered. For peace, for unity. For what may come. People cheered. Music grew louder. The night became full of joy. Kyle and Liari danced again. This time it was easier. Their steps matched. Their eyes never left each other. In that moment, the world felt small and full of hope. Later, they sat near the garden, under the twin moons. Liari leaned her head on Kyle's shoulder. I never thought I could feel this, she whispered. Me neither, Kyle replied. They watched the stars. The sky seemed to welcome them, but far from the village. In a cold room deep in the human command station orbiting Thalos Prime, someone watched. A screen. A man in a dark suit frowned. He had read the soldier reports. He had seen the photos. Too close, he said to the woman beside him. She nodded. He's gone native. The man turned off the screen. Send a team, quietly. We can't let this continue. Back on the planet, the village slept peacefully. Kyle and Liari walked back to her home, hands still held tight. In the morning, they would fix more machines. They would teach the children. They would dream together, but they didn't know what was coming. They didn't know that something dark had just been set in motion. And soon, everything would change. But for now, under the stars and the soft winds of Thalos Prime, love was real. And it was strong. The next few days were peaceful. Kyle and Liari continued their work around the village. They shared meals with the children and taught others how to use new tools. The water station worked well, and other villages sent people to learn from them. Everything felt safe, but in the sky above Thalos Prime, a ship moved silently. It had no lights, no flags, and no welcome. Inside were 5 humans dressed in dark uniforms. They had no names, only numbers. They had one mission: remove Kyle Mason at night. As the village slept, the ship landed in a far corner of the valley. The strangers moved like shadows. The next morning, Kyle noticed something odd. A sensor near the edge of the village had been damaged. He checked the feed and saw blurry figures. "Liari," he said, "something isn't right." She walked over and watched the screen. Her eyes narrowed. Those are not animals. They went to the elders and told them what they saw. The elders listened, but looked unsure. "Maybe it's nothing," one said. "Maybe travelers." "Travelers don't hide," Liari replied. Kyle asked for a small group to search the outer fields. Liari joined him. Nira and Vila wanted to come, but Liari told them to stay. The group followed the trail. They found more signs, broken branches, footprints, small tools left behind. Then they found a strange device buried under a tree. Kyle picked it up. "This is military tech. Human tech." Liari looked around. "They're watching us." Back in the village, people grew nervous. Kyle set up extra sensors and taught the Ivati how to spot hidden trackers. At night, they took turns watching. Then, it happened. During the third night, one of the guards spotted movement. Kyle and Liari rushed to the scene. 3 dark-clothed men were near the energy station. One held a tool meant to break systems. Another had a stun weapon. "Stop!" Kyle shouted. The men turned. One aimed at him. Liari moved fast. She grabbed a metal rod and struck the man's arm. The weapon fell. Kyle tackled another to the ground. The third ran. Villagers came running with lights and tools. They formed a circle around the attackers. "Who are you?" Liari asked. The man Kyle had tackled sneered. "We came to clean up a mistake." Kyle stood. "What mistake?" "You," the man said. "You forgot your place." The village went quiet. Liari stepped forward. Her voice was firm. "He belongs here. He is one of us." The elders agreed. "You came with weapons. We answer with unity." The attackers were locked in a storage shed, guarded by 3 strong Ivati. The next morning, the elders contacted the human base for answers. Kyle sat alone near the garden. Liari came to him. "I'm sorry," he said. "This is because of me." "No," she replied. "This is because some people fear what they don't understand." He looked at her. "I never wanted to bring trouble. I just wanted to help. And then I met you." She smiled gently. "You helped me see. Helped us all." That afternoon, a ship from the main human council arrived. This one had proper markings and leaders who came in peace. They listened to the elders. They listened to Kyle. They took the attackers away. The council leader, an older man with kind eyes, turned to Kyle. "You are not in trouble," he said. "In fact, you've shown us something important. Real peace. Real connection." He looked at Liari. "You've shown strength too. The kind that builds futures." As the ship left, peace returned. This time, it felt stronger. That night, Kyle stood with Liari near the lake. The water shimmered again. "You were brave," he said. "So were you," she replied. He took her hand. "I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." She looked into his eyes. "Then don't. Stay." He smiled. "I will." The stars above them were silent, but full of promise. The night air was soft, and even after danger, they still stood side by side. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Weeks passed peacefully after the failed attack. The village grew stronger. More people from other areas came to see what had been built between humans and Ivati. The water station helped nearby fields bloom, and new machines made daily life easier. Together, they made things better. Kyle was now fully part of the village. He taught children how to build simple devices and helped the elders write history records with human tech. Liari worked beside him each day, their bond growing deeper. One morning, a group of leaders from other Ivati villages arrived. They came to see the changes and talk about the future. Liari stood before them with Kyle. "This village is proof," she said. "Proof that peace is not just possible, it is real. We are stronger because we trust each other." Kyle spoke next. "I came here as a helper, but I stayed because I found something greater than a mission. I found a home." The visitors walked through the fields, spoke to the people, and listened. To the children. They saw humans and Ivathi laughing, working, and learning side by side. By evening, they returned to their homes with new hope in their hearts. That night, it was another gathering. Lights danced in the trees. Music filled the air. Children played games while adults shared stories around fires. Kyle sat with Liari, near the lake once again, the place where so much had changed for them. "I still remember when you looked at me with hate," Kyle said with a small smile. "And I remember when you were just a stranger with strange tools," Liari replied. Laughing, Kyle turned serious. "But now, I can't imagine life without you." Liari looked into his eyes. "Then don't. Stay by my side. Not just for now. For always." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small ring made from local stone and metal he had shaped. "Himself. I made this. It's not fancy, but it's real. Like us." Her eyes widened. "You're asking to bond?" He nodded. "Yes. Will you bond with me, Liari?" She didn't answer with words. Instead, she took the ring and placed it on her finger. Then she leaned forward and kissed his forehead. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Kyle." Cheers rose from behind. The trees. Nira and Vela had been watching, along with half the village. They ran forward, laughing and hugging them both. "It's about time!" Vela shouted. "Now we can plan a real celebration." Nira added. The next day, the village prepared for a joining ceremony. It was a mix of human and Ivathi traditions. The elders blessed the couple, and children decorated the field with glowing flowers and hanging lights. People from nearby villages arrived to witness it. Even a small group from the Human Council came, this time with open minds and friendly hands. During the ceremony, Louis wore a dress made from silk-like plant fibers that shimmered under the sun. Kyle wore simple clothes, but his eyes never left hers. They stood under the twin moons as the elders spoke. "Today, we do not just join two hearts," one elder said. "We join two worlds." Kyle and Liari repeated the words of unity. They promised to protect, support, and learn from each other. When the final words were said, the village erupted in cheers. Music started. Food was shared. People danced long into the night. Later, as things quieted down, Kyle and Liari sat under the stars once again. "You were the last person I ever thought I'd love," Liari said. "And you were the one who changed my whole world." Kyle replied. They held hands, their fingers linked tightly. In the distance, the new energy towers glowed. Children's laughter echoed. The future was bright. No longer divided by fear. The people of the village had become a new family, one built on trust, kindness, and love. And at the heart of it were two souls who once stood on opposite sides. Now walking forward together, the war was in the past. The hate had faded. What remained was a story of hope. A human and a Ivathi, once strangers, now partners in both love and peace. The stars above watched silently as a new chapter began.